Welcome to the next installment in my video lecture series in economics. And in this particular video lecture, I'm going to be taking a look at the economics of a natural monopoly. And this is for my public finance course, particularly the section under the public production of private goods. So one of the things that we can look at is just a graphical representation of different levels of output and explaining, what each of them means and why they hold in particular situations. So for a natural monopoly, we're going to have a downward sloping demand curve, and the marginal revenue curve is going to be inside of the demand curve. If you're unfamiliar with this particular concept, you can go to my YouTube channel. I have a particular lecture that's for my introductory courses that explains why if you have a downward sloping demand curve, your marginal revenue curve is inside of the demand curve. So if you've forgotten about this, or let's say the course you took previously for an introductory course maybe wasn't very robust and did not cover this, be a good idea for you to review that. So again, if you go to my YouTube channel and take a look at the relationship between demand and marginal revenue, there is a video there for you to look at. And so that would probably be helpful. Also, we introduced a couple of cost curves, marginal cost and our average cost curve. Here, we're just making a very simplifying assumption that marginal cost is constant. It's not decreasing and then increasing like we see in other forms of competition. We're just doing that for ease of this graphical representation. It makes it easier to see those things, to see or to illustrate what I'm talking about when we have marginal cost is constant. So we introduced both of those cost curves. So the first question is, what is going to be the efficient level of output? I.e., what is the level under perfect competition? And that is where marginal cost equals the demand curve. So where marginal cost is equal to demand is Q0, that's the efficient output level. That's where price, represented here by the demand curve, equals marginal cost. That's the efficient level of output. So for output less than that, for example, the marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost because the demand curve is above the marginal cost curve at all of the Q's below Q0. And it's not greater than Q0 because the marginal cost is greater than the price, i.e. the marginal benefit. So that is the efficient level of output. What would be the level of output if there were no sunk cost and there were but the potential for entry existed? So we're saying no sunk cost. One of the barriers to entry are the sunk costs that you have. So if there's zero sunk costs, that means there's no barriers to entry into this marketplace related to the fact that your sunk costs are very high and that there are potential entrants out there. So if there's potential for entry for this particular natural monopolist, what would the output level be? Well, they would act like it was perfect competition. In a perfect competition, there is zero profit. So that would be where price is equal to your average cost. So your per unit cost is exactly equal to what you're charging. Therefore, you have zero economic profit, exactly what you would see in a perfectly competitive market. And lastly, what would be the monopoly output level? The monopoly output level is where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. So Q star is that output level. And that is the profit maximizing condition. Price is equal to marginal cost. And we will have, in this instance here, a positive economic profit. If we go up to average total cost and across, that gives us our average cost. If we go from Q star up to the demand curve and across, that gives us our price. And that blue shaded area is the economic profits that we will see. So it's a good idea to remember this because it sort of summarizes on a couple of things: what the break-even level of output is, i.e. what is the perfectly competitive level? That would be Q1. What's the efficient level? Where marginal cost is equal to price, and that gives us Q0 in this particular example. And if the monopolist If we were acting as a true monopolist, what would the output level be? The profit maximizing condition being price is equal to marginal cost. And in doing that, we get Q star. And when we get Q star in this diagram, we can figure out what the total cost is, what total revenue is equal to, and what the level of profits are. So this is a useful diagram on many levels. It sort of summarizes and gives you a illustration of the different levels of output. It shows you what a true monopolist would set the output at, what a firm that was operating in a perfectly competitive marketplace would be, uh, the output and the price that they would be charging, and then what would be the economically efficient level of output. Please realize under this scenario with this natural monopoly that the efficient level entails a loss. Per unit cost is greater than the price. So if this firm were to operate, this natural monopolist were to operate and operate efficiently in a societal perspective, it would actually be losing money. So this would be an example of why you could argue that government intervention is necessary, that maybe a public company uh, owned by the government or the government providing this type of private good would be necessary, because the fact that if you allow a private firm to do this, they would not produce the efficient level because they would lose money in order to do that.